So we'll discuss question number 20 and its answers. Explain the acts which will be deemed to constitute part performance as per the doctrine of part performance. So we would like to discuss section 53A and its provisions of Transfer of Property Act 1882 relating to the very doctrine of part performance. So, if the conditions mentioned in section 53A are fulfilled, then notwithstanding that the contract, though required to be registered, has not been registered, the transferor would be debarred from enforcing against the transferee any right in respect of the property. The following are the essentials of this section. So, one is a contract to transfer immovable property, and the second one is that it must be in writing and signed on behalf of the transferor, and also it must be for consideration. And the fourth one, the terms can be ascertained from the writing. And the fifth one, the transferee has taken possession or is already in possession of the said property. And the sixth one, he has done some act in furtherance of the contract. And final essential of this section is that has performed or is willing to perform his part of the contract. So, this section applies only when the contract is a valid contract. In order to avoid forged evidence, it is essential that the contract must be in writing. The contract must be for consideration. The term necessary to constitute the transferor can be ascertained with reasonable certainty, and as it was observed by the Supreme Court in 1977 in the leading case Ranchod Das versus Devaji. And as regarding possession, if possession be taken in part performance of the contract, the fact along with the writing are to be sufficient to attribute the possession to the agreement. But in case of a person already in possession, some further act of performance, for example, by payment of different rent or the spending of money, is necessary because the possession may not be exclusively referable to the agreement. So, in that connection, we would like to discuss another important leading case, and that is Technician Studio Private Limited versus Srimati Lala Gooden in 1977. In the same year, Supreme Court expressed that the appellant company was a sublegee of the disputed premises. By a decree of the court, the company was ordered to vacate the possession. It applied it for revision before the High Court. The revision was disposed on the basis of a petition of compromise under which the appellant would become direct tenant on payment of rent for a period of 16 years. No deed of lease was executed. The compromise was also not of lease, and that was not also registered. The Supreme Court held that as the petition of compromise was not registered, it would not create any interest in favor of the appellant company in the premises, though he was entitled to protect his position for a period of 16 years as provided under Section 53A of the Transfer of Property Act relating to Doctrine of Part Performance as it was pronounced by the apex court in this important leading case. Technician Studio Private Limited versus Srimati Lala Goyden in 1977. So the right under Section 53 is available against the transferor effecting incomplete transfer and any person claiming under him the successor in interest of a leisure can never be said to be a person claiming under a lease making an incomplete transfer of a leasehold interest, as it was also decided by the apex court in 1980 in another important leading case, and that is Narendra Bahadur Tandon versus Shankar Lal. So, which acts constitute part performance? An act is done in performance of the contract. Also, an act which is unequivocal and is referable to no other contract than that alleged, and so also delivery a possession. So, in that context, we will discuss certain illustrations. So, the first illustration relating to that is A. Agreed orally to give way his flat on lease. A. Proceeded to make certain alteration which had been agreed upon to be made in the flat. B. Consequently inspected and supervised their progress and made suggestion about the work. The act of the defendant inevitably suggested the conclusion that the defendant must have a contract giving him some interest in the property. And the second one, A agrees orally to give his motor garage on 20 years lease to B. A lets be in possession. Delivery of possession is an act of part performance. So, in that connection, also we would like to discuss some other important leading case. So, one is Miram Pucham versus the agent of the state government, District Adilabad in 1978. The Andhra Pradesh High Court made the observation that Section 53A postulates taking possession of the property in part performance of the contract only in a lawful manner. It cannot be predicted that it purports to give protection to those transferees who have taken possession of the property in a manner contrary to law, which was in force and applicable to them, as it was held in this important leading case, Miram Pucham versus the agent of the state government, District Adilabad, in 1978 by the Andhra Pradesh High Court. And lastly, we'll discuss another important leading case relating to this section 53A is the famous Chhattisgarh case of 2009, where a landlord agreed to sell rented house to the tenant. The did not state the price or consideration. Landlord issued quit notice calling upon the tenant to vacate the house. The tenant admitted tenancy and was willing to pay arrear of rent, if any. The tenant also did not file any suit for specific performance. So the court held it was not open to tenant to defend his position under section 53A of the Transfer of Property Act, which exactly provides doctrine of part performance. So this is all about the doctrine of part performance as provided under section 53A of Transfer of Property Act. And as regarding the very question, explain the acts which will be deemed to constitute part performance as per the doctrine of part performance. So it would be the relevant and appropriate answer to this question as relating to the very provision of section 53A of Transfer of Property Act 1882.